All right, so let's look back here at domain and range. So domain is all possible x values. They're what you're putting in for the function. What works? What could you put in there? And looking at the graph, what is shown there? And then the range are your all possible y values, or your f of x values, or the output values. So when you're doing the range, you kind of want to look up and down on the graph. When you're looking at domain, you want to look left and right on graph. So if I come back over here and let's look at the first one here. This one says, you know, you got this parabola and you got arrows on the end, so it's going on forever and ever as it goes up. But the very bottom one here, if I look from bottom to top, that's our range. So if I look from bottom to the top, it starts down there at -1 and then goes up. So because I'm going to say y is greater than or equal to -1. For my domain, if I look at my x values from left to right, well, it goes from, as I look here at this main point here, this 2, -1 there, if I look to the left, it's going to go on forever to the left. If I look to the right of this main point here, it's going to go on forever to the right. So there's no exclusions here. There's nothing that it can't be. It can be 0, it could be 1, it could be -1. A lot of times I'll look at negatives versus positives and versus zeros, but it includes everything. So all real numbers. So that's all real numbers. All right, and then part B down here, domain. Now, it kind of depends on how you interpret this graph here. You can say that your values there go on forever and ever if you want. If you were to do that, these are like arrows to you. That's fine. So then if I did bottom to top on that, we'd say the range there would be, goes forever to the bottom there, it goes forever to the top there. So your range would be all real numbers. There's nothing that it can be, nothing it can't be. So then domain there, kind of looking at the domain of this, we're looking from left to right on our graph. So if I look from left to right on my graph, oh yeah, I don't know, kind of the middle of function seems like it's over in this area somehow. And then if I look to the left of that, it's just, you know, it's going to the left here. It's negative numbers in there. And then over to the right of that point over there, those are all going to get positive and positive and positive to the right. So we could also say all real numbers here if we thought those were arrows at the end. But let's think we thought these were dots here. If we thought those were dots, then our domain and range here is going to change a little. Our range here, bottom to the top here, well, the bottom point looks to me like it's a -8, and the top point there looks like it's a 16. So I would say it's from -8 to 16. And I'm going to put those in there. So y is greater than or equal to -8, but less than or equal to 16. If I go from left to right, this is my left, this is my right. What's my leftmost point? -1, -2, -3. It looks to me like it's -3 over to 2, and it's a little bit more than 2, so maybe I might say like 2.2. I'm thinking this one over here on the left is a -3, but let's double check. Yeah, it looks like it's a -3. So that's how I do it if I thought it ended or if I thought it stopped. It kept going forever and ever. All right, and then let's come over here and do this other graph over here, and then we'll come down at the bottom and look at that one at the bottom. So looking at the one up here in the top right there, we've got a graph there, and we're supposed to identify the domain and range. So let's look at the domain here. And let's say these stop. So this is up here at 6, and let's say this stops up there. So if we think that that stops, let's identify those. So if we think that stops up there, domain there, I'm going to look from left to right on my graph. So here's the left, here's the right. Now there might be some tricky parts in here. So the leftmost point over there is -2. The rightmost point over there is 5, and we're thinking it's in between there. Now we might think might be some exclusions in there, and I'm putting equals there because I've got a closed dot over here and I've got a closed dot over here. So those are going to be equals. If there were open dots at the ends there, you might have to take off one of those equals on there. All right, so now, are there any x values that do not work? So I'm going to just kind of look through these. So if I got -1 here, I've got a 1. If I've got 0 here, I'm up here at 1, I'm 1. I've got, looks like 2. Over here at 2, I've got a open dot here, so technically that wouldn't be there, but look at here. It's a closed dot there, so 2 works as well, and then 3 works. And then 4, I can see it. So sometimes I'll look at kind of the whole numbers there. And so all the values are going to work from -2 to 5. All right, so now let's look at the range. That's from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top there. So again, kind of looking over here. So this is the bottommost. Where's the topmost? The topmost is up there of my graph. So the bottom there goes from -2 up through 6. Smallest value goes on the left, largest number goes on the right. So now let's see if there's any exclusions there. Up and down, -2 works, -1, 4, -1, we got 0 is fine. We've got 1 here is fine. A 2 value, we've got some numbers in there. And then, let's see, 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. So it looks like our y values are there all going to work there as well. So there it would look like if we thought those were dots at the end and I was going to put them there. Because I pretty much assume if there's not arrows at the ends, that they mean that there's a dots at the ends. This one here, however, the one down here doesn't have a graph. We could graph this. Let's graph it. So if we were to graph this, let's just use y equals mx plus b form. So our y-intercept there is 1. We're going to rise 1 and run 1. Going to rise 1 and run 1. And then we're just going to connect our points there. So it's just a nice line there. Because it's a nice line, we can see that, you know, our domain there, our x values, if I look from left to right, this is going to go forever and ever here to the left here. It's going to keep going this way. And if I look up here, this is the rightmost value right now, but it's actually going to keep going to the right. So domain there is all real numbers. What about range? That's domain. What about range? What about bottom to top? Well, this is also bottommost, topmost. But remember that keeps going, so you're never going to really get the top. So it's going to keep going forever here. It's going to keep going forever this way. So this one here is also all real numbers because all negative numbers work, all positive numbers work, 0 works. So lines, diagonal lines like that are always going to be all real numbers. All right, so now you've got your homework. So if you need a snapshot of your book, make sure you come up there and get that. Otherwise, you've got your own. So you're working on that book assignment.